hey, you can't touch the top tower because it's been fortified. So if you don't want to deal any damage to it, you're gonna. Oh wait, never mind. Okay, it's back. You can start dealing damage to it again.
Well, I did think it would be an interesting idea to do a quasi-educational announcer.
Well, that's Manny. He thinks he's helping, but he's actually just annoying the hell out of everybody.
But your top tower is gonna get destroyed. You don't want to do that because if you lose a top tower, you're gonna give the enemy team gold. And if they get gold, they're gonna have money to buy things, which is gonna make it that much harder.
The announcer you use once and then never touch again.
Like the pirate captain.
Like the pirate captain. The Rick and Morty one, I saw the preview for that. That one's pretty funny.
Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty. It's a cartoon by Dan Harmon, same guy who did Community. It's funny, but I'm having a hard time adjusting to the main character who's always like foaming at the mouth or boogering. He's an old, crazy guy, so I get it, but it's like... that gross out humor really turns me off from watching it.
Yeah, not to, like there was a dire Overlord announcer for the that was in the workshop a while ago, and why didn't it get released? Like the guy was a talented voice actor. He did it together. Like I think there's a couple moments where okay, I don't want this line in, I don't want this line in. Like it would actually talk, you have different lines depending what team he was on. So if he was on the Radiant side, he'd say, you know what, the Dire aren't that bad people. I had lunch with one of them, and he seems like a pretty nice guy. Maybe you should go easy on them. And on the Dire side, is like, I'm trying to remember the exact thing, because this was a line that sort of thought he didn't really need. Like, let the blood flow, like chop up the little pieces and then eat them, and then poop out the remains and wipe the poops of the... that sounds rather gross. But kill them!
I've never heard that one.
Like, it was a very long time ago. I was thinking, like, wow, this guy's amazing. Like, why? Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Although, again, the whole idea of eating them, then pooping them out, and scraping the poop with the bones, like, did we really... Tone that one down a little bit, I think.
All right. Ready to start?
Okay.
So, Matt, as you know, I am probably too big of a Smash Brothers fan for my own good.
I'd say you're very firmly addicted to the gospel that is Smash Brothers. Or
Exactly. I am open to all criticisms and opinions of Smash Brothers. I'm not closed-minded on it because criticism will make it better. In fact, that's what I'm here to do today. I'm going to criticize it a little bit, but it's just going to get the ball rolling into what is a bigger issue, at least for me. Now, before I do that, I am kind of worried that the camera was... adjusted. No, it's fine. That was so unprofessional, but this is called We're Not Pros, so I get a pass, at least for this. The story is I wanted to finally test myself as a Link player in a Smash Bros tournament. Now, I've always been kind of resistant to tournament play because it...
Star Fox versus Star Fox on Final Destination. Star Fox versus Star Fox.
They're called Spaceys because they're space animals. And it's like, okay, I don't want to stop people from doing it if that's... I mean, they put so much work and so much passion into it. It's I'm not going to be the dissenting voice. But anyway, so I go to the Smash tournament and I'm facing up against a Sheik player. And it's 3 rounds, best of 3. So after I lose 2 rounds, I was done. Didn't get to do the 3rd match. They were close, but close isn't the same thing as winning kind of thing.
This isn't horseshoes.
Yeah. On the last stock between the two of us, where either kill meant whether or not I got to face him in the 3rd round or not, it was down to 1 minute, and I was kind of low on options. And I'm trying to poke at him as much as I can and get one last hit in it, and he knows this. And so he's just kind of playing defensively. The issue was, because of the tournament settings, this wasn't going to go to sudden death. Sudden death doesn't apply in tournament settings. So because I had more damage, that was going to secure the win. Now the reason this started probably by Melee, I know for sure it was in Brawl, because in Brawl the game was so defensive that it was down to Meta Knight and Ice Climbers, and it was just who can hit each other more. And... if I were playing it in a mode where the time limit wasn't there, as a Link player, I would have had more of an opportunity to apply more of my strategy, which is to try to poke him away until I have enough damage on hand, and then maybe try to catch him in my boomerang, bring him in, go for a kill kind of thing. But I didn't get to do that. And that's just one of the things that I'm going to have to adjust to in order to continue playing the tournament settings. The issue for me is that I feel like Smash Brothers, even though it's developed as a fighting game, it's evolved over the series to become more of the fighting game, marketed as a fighting game, agreed upon as a fighting game. To me, I can't help but wonder if maybe calling it a fighting game in the first place is a problem. And the reason why is because there are more than one elements involved in Smash Brothers that sets it apart from other fighting games. For one, I can't think of any other fighting game in existence where you can actually turn away from the opponent, and for an extended period of time.
I can think of a few, but they would definitely be the exceptions rather than the rules. Like there's a whole type of sort of arcadey fighting game in Japan, which the biggest example I could think of off the top of my head would be either the Rave Master and Power Stone. Both of them, yes, happen to be based off animes, but both of them involved you could run away from your opponent, smash open a crate, grab an apple or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean those are. Power Stone is such a unique property on its own. Even that, I don't even know if that should be called a fighting game, to be honest with you. Brawler, sure, maybe, but
I think you get 4 people in there.
Yeah, it is. It was a 4-player game, but you can kind of see where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
Smash Brothers has platforms. You don't generally see platforms or platforming or characters capable of jumping onto different platforms. Smash Brothers, on a little bit more of an abstract level, Smash Brothers also has a lot of strategy, which does come into fighting, sure, but strategy by way of tactics and mixing offensive and defensive play styles. Again, a thing that you see in fighting games, but more of a byproduct of different player play styles as opposed to... it's kind of they're both in there a little bit.
If I may use as a comparative example, if you look at it, fighting games like the ones made by Arc System Works, the Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, and Persona fighting games, they do have a lot of concept of zoners, people who can essentially control or force you to control by virtue of punishing you for going to certain areas. The idea that they just fire off a fireball that just goes, about in the sky, which means either you engage me on the ground or you risk getting hit by this thing by trying to engage me through the air.
Yeah.
The idea that you can create blades at X distance away from you, those kind of things. Like, those are very good zoning techniques. I like those in fighting games. In a game like Smash Brothers, especially if you're on a platforming level, all of a sudden characters who can't zone can now zone because your opponent has to change elevation or has to do something to get to you. So now a move gives you the ability to control what is their safe area for landing. I mean, if I can say, like, if you're trying to jump to engage me because of the platforms of my move, I can say you have to land right in grabbing range of me or you get hit by something else. I have now controlled your actions and I can now grab you and throw you.
Right.
And because of the platforming stages, it creates situations that wouldn't normally be there. When you mentioned this sudden death, like the first time, like, you don't always get sudden death. Like, let's face it, it's somewhat rare depending on the mode or that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially in stock.
Yeah, if you're doing stock and time simultaneously, usually sudden death applies. I think if you do time... No, yeah.
If you just do time, there's actually a very good chance you go to sudden death because in like a 2-minute match, chances are you'll have like 1 kill apiece.
Oh, I never do a short 2 minutes. Like, yeah,
no one does, and they that's always been the default. So.
Yeah, but I remember the first time I ever did sudden death because sudden death, like, we're gonna fight, and we had so much damage, and I'm trying to play around, and all of a sudden fucking bombs came from the sky. Yeah. It's like, Jesus, what's going on? No,
I have this one memory of it going down to the sudden death. I was Peach and it was a Luigi, and I took a huge gamble. I jump off the stage and just umbrella and like float my way down to the kill zone, and the bomb grabs Luigi and flies off, and I win. And I actually enjoyed that because knowing what sudden death was, I had to figure out something to do. But we're veering off just a slight bit, which is fine. The point that I want to raise is that. Is it better to refer to Smash Brothers as a fighting game, or is it better to just refer to Smash Brothers as a Smash Brothers game?
Or even just genres in general. It's...
labels. Terrible for people, but okay for games? Smash Brothers, by being labeled as a fighting game, what you're doing is you're conditioning the players to approach it the same way that they might have approached other fighting games. And for like 95% or 90% of the game's fundamentals, it's fine. There is there's the mind games, there is the pattern recognition, there is the punching, kicking each other until someone is no longer punching and kicking. So that all applies. But because there is so much else going on, especially based on what character you're playing, this is what causes the tier list, because you've condensed the rules into a system that lends itself well to characters that benefit from that mode, and then other characters actually do become less viable. It becomes harder for them to achieve the same level of victory because you have tactical characters like Robin, who is a tactician, who is trying to charge up her elf under and then figure out how to maneuver her way into you. She has a lot of range stuff. Samus, Link. Oh, so many ranged characters. You have characters like Pac-Man who are trolls, who are actually just going to try to piss you off as much as possible, unnerve you, and then surprise you with something that will kill you. All of these viable strategies become less relevant because we are emphasizing the fighting game aspect when there's just so much more to the game than that.
My favorite stage in Smash Brothers, I think, bar none, would have to be the Hyrule Temple. And that stage offers so many different ways to fight people. Like, even if you get 4 people in it, even I guess if you can get the 8 people now, but let's just start with 4 people. You can have 4 people in it, and there's enough spaces there they can each be fighting essentially on a different kind of stage, and then end up moving to another apparently different kind of stage while all staying on the same map. It's like the platforming elements to it, again, like they added more tactics to it. Like one of my favorite characters, well, I guess used to be Kirby. I don't play him as much as I used to, which is kind of sad, but I really like playing Kirby, and yes, the fact that you can jump 5 times is pretty impressive. But if you're just going to be playing on Final Destination, what's the point of me jumping 5 times so I can try to land up the world's most awkwardly performed, meteor smash on you? Like, if I'm that high up, you can probably see me coming.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on a stage that is very platformy, the fact that I can jump 5 times means that I can get a little higher and get a little bit further away from you and thus position myself something better, and you're not forced to come up to me. Or at the very least, I've been able to cross a gap or recover, or it becomes something far more unique. It becomes something, and again, like they all pretty much came from platformy stuff. I mean, obviously the Fire Emblem people didn't. And Robin's comments of being a tactician, something else that not a lot of people are used to, is that everyone plays female Robin.
Yeah,
right?
like, it's just something about
It's nice hair, but anyways, like she actually burns up books as she uses them. So you got a lot of good tactics, but if you spam any one of them, it's removed. So you can't just L Thunder like crazy like Samus can, because it's powerful, and if you screw up too many, L Thunder books burnt out. Oh, shiest. And even like the Levin Blade is actually something that I very rarely ever use as her anymore, because whenever you use a smash attack, she puts away your regular sword and takes out the Levin Blade, which is a heck of a lot powerful, makes your auto attacks better, and you use it to smash, but sooner or later it burns out, and spontaneously there's a tool you've lost. It's like she forced you to think a lot differently than I think most fighting games in general.
Right. And one of the ways that I try to look at this, and this is something that I've brought up on the podcast that I do with Arth, which you can find if you look through our channels, is that when I look at the game that I'm playing, I'm trying not to just like see like this is the game, either you play it or you don't. This to me is the toy box, and the character that I choose is the toy that I'm going to be playing with, and it's up to me to determine the game that I'm playing. So if I want to play my Link game, I actually have several games within that I switch up on the fly because I know him so well. I have several games. Robin has the tactical game to play. And I, for one, want to see an environment where everyone's game can be played fairly, because if you don't do that, then you're just going to have a repeat of Melee, which is mostly 90% mostly aggressive characters fighting aggressive characters, and Smash 4 and Brawl also got a lot of heavy criticism for being a little more or being a lot more defensive and campy. The issue was this was the first time that defensiveness and campiness and trickiness, like on say Duck Hunt Dog, could actually work.
One of the characters I'm playing the most right now is Greninja, and I love how he has so many ways to essentially play keep away with your opponents. Like I really like the additional feature that when he doesn't evade, he doesn't just step into the background; he disappears for a second.
Yeah.
And like he has the substitution, which every time you land that, it's always so beautiful. Like they hit you spontaneously. Oh, stuffed animal.
I always love that brick moment where you realize what you've done.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Here it comes.
There was an absolute beautiful moment where I was able to substitute my another Greninja substitute. It was just fuck yes! I feel so powerful.
That's pretty good.
But it's like Greninja is a surprisingly defensive character. Or at least I play him surprisingly defensively. I just play the keep away game. I use the star to control where my enemy can safely jump into, and then I go in. I pepper them with damage, and then I play the keep away game.
Yeah.
Like I play him as a ninja, a very agile ninja. You have people who are specifically fans of it as a fighting game who have a serious problem with this because it's not the fight that they were expecting. But if you're that kind of player that wants to play aggressively, you have characters that encourage that kind of style. But if you discourage other players and create an environment where those styles are hindered, then you're going to detract a lot of players playing that game, and the game becomes less interesting because you have less styles available to you. But Smash Brothers is just one example. I don't want it to turn this into a Smash Brothers episode, which we'll do eventually.
But we've discussed it, and it very nearly came down to that. But the takeaway is for me is that I wish I didn't have to call Smash Brothers a fighting game. I wish I just got to call it a Smash game, because I've seen another example of a Smash game. Remember Sony All Stars? That to me,
we don't talk about Sony All Stars.
Well, I'm going to talk about it. I can't call that a fighting game because the fundamental gameplay is so close to the fundamental gameplay of Smash Brothers that I'm gonna label it as as a Smash game. I called it Sony Smash Brothers.
Everyone called it Sony Smash Brothers.
And then I gave it a fair shake and I played it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I invested more time into this, I'd find something to like.
No, you wouldn't.
But I'm not gonna do that.
No, you wouldn't find anything like.
I'm trying to be fair here.
Yeah, you're the fair and calculated one. I'm not the asshole.
No, we fluctuate. We're fluid in our roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
not
going to use the word fluid between us anymore.
We are nuanced.
That's it. But that's just an example. That's just one example. Here's another example. Here's two games that were in competition with each other unfairly for a very long time. World of Warcraft, Guild Wars. Both those games were called MMOs.
Called Guild Wars 1.
Guild Wars 1.
Okay.
Both those games were considered, treated as MMOs. Only one of those games was actually an MMO, and that was World of Warcraft. Guild Wars, even though everyone was comfortable calling it an MMORPG, the issue is that it's not. Guild Wars, I mean, the ArenaNet itself, they called it a competitive online role-playing game, but I wouldn't even call it that. Guild Wars was really closer to Diablo 2 than anything. I mean, you had player-populated lobbies that functioned as towns, so you can run around, interact with other players, trade, do whatever you wanted to do. So that was great. But then every other area was instanced to you and your party. And that to me is one of the most detrimental things in referring to it as an MMORPG, because to me, MMORPGs are ecosystems. It actually is massive. You're playing, but so is everybody else. All the other thousands of players, they're all playing on the same map in the same area at the same time. And that interaction is the most important part, because there is an economy, there is a habitat, there are social structures, there's guilds, there is conflict, interpersonal or faction-related conflict. And this is all incredibly important to MMORPG identity. So when Guild Wars is called an MMORPG, you're like, it's not as good as the other MMORPGs. I'm like, fucking right it's not, because it's not an MMORPG.
It sounds like I used to play Phantasy Star Online, and that seems like the same thing as that. It seems more of an instance of Yes, there is an online aspect. Yes, there even is a community aspect because you can have a lot of towns and such. I know in Fancy Star Online, I happen to be, a guest, once by accident and then twice by invitation to an online wedding. So that's how well the community was getting along. They had fictional characters marrying each other, and I'm sure they have that in a lot of MMOs. I would love to play an online video game with my girlfriend, but I'm probably not going to marry her in it or marry someone I've never really met in real life in it. That just seems one step of role playing too far for me.
I have to be on the opposite end of that. I feel like if I met her through the game, I owe it to the game.
Okay, that's a bit different. I've got two friends who play a lot of Team Fortress 2, and it's pretty much, we're not asking if they're getting married. We know for a fact they're going to get married one day, and there actually is a $100 engagement ring you can buy in Team Fortress 2 and then give it to somebody else.
That's pretty nice.
That's pretty nice. But it seems when you have games like that, when you have Fantasy Star Online and Guild Wars 1, it's more of an instance of here's the online community. But when you actually get out there, it's you and your pals. It's you and your teammates. It's not a world crammed full of people. You walk into a dungeon and here's a bunch of corpses that haven't despawned yet because some other people with min-max gear were ahead of you. It is you're going down to this unique area which is reserved for you, and it's you and your four other buddies, depending on what the party size is, against the world.
Yeah.
And that's still a fun experience, but I do agree with you that it's not an MMO per se. It is a far more unique thing. In many ways, it's a more personal thing because, if I'm partying up with you and we're the only people who appear in the instance, we have each other's backs. Whereas if I just run into someplace in Tyria, the Guild Wars 2 universe, like I can easily just stay close to somebody higher level than me and leech off a little bit of experience every time they kill things. It's no idea who you are. I'm just going to taxi you, and you're going to help me level this character. There are so many other people there that it creates. It's a different feel. I wouldn't argue that either is better than the other. I feel like they're both aiming for different things.
Yeah. I agree with that. It is definitely not fair for one to be considered the other. You probably will prefer one over the other, but that is by design because these two games were going for different things. And there's even a divide between Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1. Some people still prefer Guild Wars 1 over 2 because those two games are fundamentally different from each other. Guild Wars 2 is an MMORPG.
Definitely.
As close to it as they're going to get. I mean, each map is instanced, but that's like, okay, that's close enough.
It's not really a huge thing. I mean, at least each map kind of feels alive, even though it's technically sectioned off by the weird little portal thingy that you go through. It's why'd you bother building a cavern and then put this weird wavy portal? Anyways,
no big deal.
Each one feels alive. Each one has an ecosystem. And I've seen in lots of cases you can stand back and like a pack of wolves that's doing a patrol just find a deer and they go and attack it. And yeah, it's a little basic, but it still makes it feel a bit alive because then I can come in with, a pistol and say, what, I'm going to kill the wolf. No, thank you, dear. No need to thank me. No need to. Oh, right, explosive shots. Run away!
And you get a letter later on from the deer. It's like, thank you. Here's 10 silver for rescuing me. I need to shoot that deer right now.
Literate deer, we're all doomed.
Yeah. But it's funny that you brought up Team Fortress 2 because like the more games that I start to think of, the more games I think are perfect examples of this. Team Fortress 2, yeah, there's elements of first-person shooting in there. Clearly, you're in the first person, you have guns. Team Fortress 2 also has a lot of strategy to it. It has cooperation, teamwork, stealth.
Well, all right. I would classify Team Fortress 2 as a class-based shooter. Fundamentally speaking, there is first-person skill going on. If you don't know how to first-person skill in that game, you can still play an engineer. And I guess technically you can play a medic as long as you can get your retikills on them for the first time and just hold down the button because then you can basically. I don't
know. I mean, medic is simple to learn, but playing to optimal I'd say is an advanced thing.
The medic is the most important class in the game. I'm going to emphasize this strongly. He is the most important class, and everybody loves him, but nobody wants to play him.
But I actually enjoy playing the medic. But the point that I'm making is that were I to play another game that was fundamentally similar to Team Fortress 2, I wouldn't call that a class-based shooter. I would call this another Team Fortress 2 game, and the reason why is because all 9 classes, to me, feel like 9 separate games to play. I mean, the sniper game is significantly different from the soldier game, as the spy is different from the demo man. And the Demo Man is even different from the Demo Man because of the sword and shield thing that I just never got.
It's fun on the medieval map, but that's pretty much where you should keep it. The part where that kind of falls apart is that there were class-based shooters before Team Fortress 2.
Yeah.
Like, the original Tribes had a lot. I don't remember all of them, but they had a lot of classes. When they remade Tribes, they boiled it down to just 9, and they did the really stupid decision of mixing them up. The Raider is a Raider. Raiders raid. Raider is not the soldier. The moment you give the Raider a fucking assault rifle, he's not a Raider anymore.
Yeah. Well,
That is why that game died, Hi-Rez.
I guess for me, the reason why TF2 only stands out is because how clearly, visibly different all the characters are. That you can point them out, kind of thing. But I'll agree with your point. Another one, Minecraft. What the hell genre is Minecraft? What is that even?
It is an entirely new genre existing to expand to the stars and enrich our knowledge.
No, actually, in Minecraft, the sky is the actual limit.
I've never built that high.
Well, that's as high as you can build. But like, what other way is there to describe Minecraft than just calling it a Minecraft game? Because that game is so ingrained into the gaming lexicon that we don't even need a genre for it. We'll just call it Minecraft. In fact, now that you find imitators, you find, oh, well, these are Minecraft games. That because the title is so fundamental to the understanding the design, really the title is the best label you can have. We usually bring up the Dotas and the League of Legends, and I'm going to bring them up here as well. These games are now referred to as MOBAs. Personally, I would rather call them arena games. I've always kind of felt like...
Can we both agree action RTS is stupid?
It kind of works, though.
I think it sounds stupid.
Yeah, but it does work. From my experience, there's a lot of goes on behind the scenes, but from my experience, where Defense of the Ancients had a lot of interpretation to it, naturally over time, or maybe it was right away, whatever. The characters and the roles that they played, carry, support, and so on, was sort of agreed on by the player base, but the game itself isn't exactly like forcing you to do it. It's not like it's on rails and it's kind of making you do that. And you can kind of choose to change up the character the way you want to play it. In fact, pro players are encouraging this kind of thing because it's like, well, anything is viable. You want to play this odd character who never carries as a carry, give it a shot. If you have the skill to make up for it, you can do it.
Alliance actually, when they won the internationals, the tactics they used were essentially going so far against the meta and playing it differently that the opponents just had no idea how to counter it, and through that, and even though they didn't win again, it basically opened up the door to play this entirely differently. Like, one of the main things they did was, hey, you know what? The support can't just run around with brown boots and have wards, because then they're constantly feeding the enemy. We're actually going to let our supports farm a little. We're going to give them some gold so they can get some items to keep themselves alive.
Yeah.
And the opponents didn't know what to do about it, because instead of having two fucking awesome carries with all the monies in the worlds and all the items in the world, they all of a sudden had two carries who were okay, and then three other people that if one of the carries died, yeah, we're still good. We're still like, we lost one of our carries. We're still in this fight. We're not backing off. We're still fucking doing this.
Yeah.
And that, I'm sad they didn't win again. Like, they're a good team. It's just their winning and the way they won changed up Dota 2 a lot, because it's a matter of, we're going to win not only because we're talented, but because we're just going to give the meta the middle fucking finger.
Yeah, and that brings me back to my toy box analogy, because it's like, well, Dota is just this huge stage with 100 different toys, and they'll give you some idea on how to play them, but then you as a player apply your own ideas to it to fundamentally change the way the character is played. And then each subsequent Dota-ish game, arena game that has come since, has run into different issues. League of Legends did the team play aspect very well, but they're in a constant state of flux. And the players are forced to adapt to that meta, because the meta is usually so strong. Going against that is probably going to net you a loss.
Something which actually kind of bothered me about League of Legends towards the end is that jungling, when I first started playing, jungling was a strategy. It was a thing you could do. It was a thing some people did.
Yeah.
But towards the end, it pretty much was guaranteed you had to have your mid, you had to have a support supporting somebody in the in a lane, you had the solo lane, which even became dedicated I forget if it was the top or bottom, but you had the dedicated solo lane, and then you had a jungler, and it was basically declared that we've done all these numbers, and this is the fastest way for various people to gain experience points. So if you tried to do 2 dual lanes in a mid, you'd either get yelled at or, well, okay, you get yelled at is more likely concern, or there'd be the idea that from a math perspective, the other team's doing a little bit better than you. In Dota 2, some characters are good at jungling immediately. Some characters need a level or two, then they can go into the jungle. And it's, you know what, you can
it's not a
double
matter
lane.
of if, it's a matter of when. When can you bring your character into the jungle? Because
Well,
maybe
yeah.
your support needs to wait until like level 16 before they can jump into the jungle. But eventually they can do it.
But you don't need a jungler on your team. If you have a team that doesn't include, Enigma or Bloodseeker or something like that, you still play. You're still viable.
But getting back to the point, what you see is this dissolution of the game identity for each one that has since tried to emulate Dota and emulate League of Legends. Strife is not a Strife game. It's just another arena game. It's just another Dota or League of Legends game. What else is there? Dawngate, same problem.
Dawngate, I would like to argue, has at least tried to make itself more like. Whenever we bring up Strife, I think like, ugh, like they looked at Dota. They said, here's a couple of issues. We're just gonna do Dota, fix those couple of issues, and call it a day. Like that doesn't. Dawngate at least tried. They tried to be unique, and in many ways they succeeded.
But their hearts were in the right place. But that doesn't change the fact that the fundamental game. It's not like you don't look at it and go, "This is a Dawngate game." You look at it and go, "This is just a variation of Dota."
Yeah.
A Smite, on the other hand, is the kind of game that if you didn't know anything about any of these other games, you would at least have some way of sort of like imprinting your idea of the games onto Smite because it's third person. So that was the right direction. Heroes of the Storm, same issue. It's like a weird blend between the Dota and the League of Legends, but what's making Heroes of the Storm stand out is that they've brought so many new ideas to the table that I'm calling it a Heroes of the Storm game.
Except the new map. The new map it's the original classic Dota map. Its meta game is you beat up the things in the jungle and you get buffs, and it's got 3 lanes. The map that's coming out with the new update, it is
Eternal Battleground?
It's Dota.
No, it's not. It isn't. I have good news for you. It's like 2 like opposing giants will engage each other in the middle of the battlefield, and you have to kill the enemy team's giant.
This is what I get for looking at concept art. I'm going to shut up now.
That's okay. No, I helped you out of that one. But the point is that now when I'm playing Heroes of the Storm, I'm not feeling like, I feel like I'm just playing a League of Legends variant. I'm just playing a Defense of the Ancients variant. I feel like I'm playing Heroes of the Storm. Are you okay?
I'm actually kind of reminded of Mario Party a little bit with Heroes of the Storm. It feels very board game-ish to me when I was playing it.
I love looking at games like board games. I really do. In fact, even when I'm adjusting my graphic settings, I turn down a lot of the specular, the bloom, all that nice fancy stuff. I just try to make it like colors, shapes, done. But I can't think of any other of the arena style games off the top of my head. But that is the thing that always runs through my mind whenever
Champions.
Bloods of the Champions. There was one by
Blood something. I don't remember the second one.
Yeah, there's a Crytek one as well that's supposed to be based off like folklore.
Died on the vine.
That's too bad. I just saw one today. It was like a sci-fi one. I can't even know the name of it, but it's forgettable because it's not working to establish its own identity. Because again, it's trying to base it off specific gameplay mechanics that another game just happened to have. But what makes Dota special is that it is just so nuanced and so complicated that you may never fully understand the game, and you're okay with that because you just keep going and you keep wanting more.
I think one of the problems we have in terms of labels, it comes down to the fact that these genres are very new. Minecraft is still, ostensibly speaking, a pretty new game.
It's a contemporary game, I'll call it that.
Yeah, Dota started as a mod. Yes, it got really big, but it wasn't until a while into its life that we saw Heroes of New Earth come up. Then we saw League of Legends, and then
these. You're right. I didn't even bring up Heroes of New Earth, but there's what's the word I'm looking for? Patient Zero for my point, really, because it's like, well, okay, in this case, it's literally Dota. So once Dota 2 came out, this game actually became irrelevant.
Yeah, and you have things like this. They're still pretty recent. And once upon a time, there wasn't such a thing as the action RPG or the top-down RPG. There was Diablo. There was games like Diablo there were things like Diablo before Diablo, but Diablo came out, it was popular, and then things after that was called Diablo clones.
Yes.
And then for longest, we had the first Grand Theft Auto, which play the first Grand Theft Auto. Like that one it's top down nonsense. It's all silly fun. Like I don't get the new Grand Theft Autos where you have the whole third person camera and all these complex nuances. Like I guess maybe I should just buy Retro City Rampage at some point. But yeah, like those were a completely different game. It was interesting. It was interesting for those things, and it's always hilarious when you got so many people chasing you. You just pull into the car paint thing, and you come out. It's like, really, the police didn't notice. Side point: one of the more recent Grand Theft Auto games, I used a cheat code, or at my friend's house, used a cheat code to unlock the hovercraft. Police are chasing me, go into the paint store, come out, they've got no idea who I am. How many people in the city are driving fucking hovercrafts? But anyways, that came out, and then what we now call sandbox games, were basically referred to as GTA clones. Like, here's GTA in another setting, here's GTA in another thing.
Yeah.
It took a while for us to finally call them sandbox games. And I think maybe with Dota and with Dota and Minecraft, and I think also to a certain extent Smash Brothers, these are all variants on genres which are new enough that we don't necessarily have a full grasp on them. Like, we're still calling things Dota clones for a bit. I think people are saying MOBA, which that doesn't fully vibe with me.
I'm sticking with Arena.
Okay, well, MOBA at least is an idea. So we're finally getting a title for that. But I don't think Minecraft has been around long enough for us to give the new genre a thing. Not to mention, a lot of the newer games in that survival gathering web genre, like Rust and Ark Survival Evolved, those kind of games, like they're all too recent, and they're doing a lot of things different than Minecraft. Let's face it, Minecraft played it pretty fast and loose with the laws of physics. And they had a lot of silly stuff going on, whereas just because this is the one I've seen a lot of videos for lately, Ark Survival Evolved, you need to make a settlement because too many things are going to kill you, so you have to be together. You need to climb the tech ladder because sooner or later those T-Rexes are just going to notice you're there. And there's a lot of different things you can't really mold the universe the same way Minecraft can. So it's different enough that it's trying to slide into a new genre. I think I may have circulated a little bit off point there, but Minecraft and I feel Smash Brothers, these are sort of the startings of new genres, and right now we just don't have names for them, which is why we're calling them Minecraft clones. But in the case of Smash Brothers, it's close enough to a fighting game that we're calling it a fighting game, because this is kind of how we understand things. It's like when people do the number ratings for games. How good is a game? Well, 100% is 100%. It's a full thing. So however good it is out of 100% is what we're going to call it, because that makes it simple. How do we know what kind of game this is? We've given it a label. We've given it a title. It is a sandbox game. It is a first-person shooter. It is a class-based shooter. It is a fighting game. We do these because it's sort of a very consumer-ish way of understanding something. You go into a store, you like these kinds of games, you're not going to label every game on the shelf as this is like Ice Planet, this is like StarCraft 2, this is like this. You're going to have, here's the real-time strategy section where we have all the real-time strategy games. Here is the tower defense. Okay, they're never going to find a tower defense section at a store, but like, here is the third-person shooter section. Like, here's all the games that fit into third-person shooter. It doesn't matter that
you're kind of describing a library. And the Dewey Decimal System sorts it by.
Yeah, I played Vanquish, and I think I mentioned Vanquish before on the show. But it's a third-person shooter. It has a cover system. But if you play the game, like, thankfully, like, one or two reviewers got this point. Like, a lot of reviewers said, "Oh, Vanquish is bad. Like, this doesn't make sense. This is like." If you play it as a cover-based shooter, because you can't shoot, and there is cover, you're missing out on so much of the game. It is boring. Vanquish is a game that essentially is a spectacle shooter, as opposed to the spectacle fighter, which is Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, and games like that. It challenges you to, like, you use cover as a means to wait for your time-slowing power to recharge and maybe reload a weapon or try to find some more ammunition. You're not meant to live behind there. You're meant to use it as a temporary stop before then jumping into the air, slowing time to snipe off a couple things, stopping at the moment, using your jet skis to go across as fast as you can, sniping this guy, slow time, snipe this guy, do a flip, get behind cover while your battery recharges and maybe take off some pock shots at another robot. It's like when you play Vanquish as you are meant to play Vanquish, it is an incredible and challenging skill ride. And I tried in one of the challenge rooms when a huge boss monster came in, like I was just behind cover trying to take pot shots, and next thing I knew, a bunch of homing missiles had killed me. Because, ostensibly speaking, by that game's rules, I was just holding still way too fucking long.
Yeah.
Yes, there was cover. The cover is not what you're supposed to be using. The cover is an in-between thing for, oh shit, I pushed myself a little bit far. I'd like not to get shoot at while I reload and, wait for everything to cool down so I can start using it again. And trying to think of another example, Dungeon of the Endless on Steam. Very unique game. It combines so many genres that many people who've reviewed it have said, we're not 100% sure what the hell to call this thing. It's got roguelike elements. It's got a lot of nice RPG elements. Like as you go into rooms, like monsters can spawn there unless they're powered up, but they can still spawn in adjacent rooms and move in there. So you start building defenses in those rooms, like tower defense. But then you also have to build generators to create food to heal your guys and level them up. You need to create various research materials to build better weapons. And incorporate so many other genres together that, again, I'm sort of thankful that the game isn't more popular, because at its current level of popularity, everyone reviews it says, what the fuck did we call this thing?
Yeah.
If it was really popular, I feel like somebody would force a title onto it.
There is a creative process that you will see in other mediums, especially film, more than any other one, where the longer the medium advances, the more likely it is that creators will liberate ideas that they picked up on in the films that inspired them. A classic example are the original Star Wars trilogy. If you have never seen if you've really never seen any film before, Star Wars will seem very new to you. But if you break it down, you will actually see that it's an homage to a lot of older films, sci-fi films like Metropolis. I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head. Flash Gordon is another one.
It was apparently very heavily inspired by Japanese movies. Like a lot of people have broken it down and showed how a lot of these elements, came from Akira Mishimura and
yeah. There's also real life imagery too. By the way, I'm mostly lifting my example from Red Letter Media Star Wars reviews, which to this day are some of the best videos I've ever seen. But one of the things that they referred to is that like Star Wars was a lot like World War II in space. A lot of the imagery of using like the gunners was the same idea as using a gunner in a plane, and the point of the Jedi was that the Jedi were supposed to be an outdated sense of honor, an outdated fighting system. They were knights, space knights, and this idea is that the Empire is representing the forwardness in technology, and that things are always better because they're bigger and blastier and you can blow up a planet, but the knights have held on to their belief in the Force, which inadvertently is what gets them to succeed, is just in a very indirect, rely on this one person to shoot a rocket into a hole kind of way. But Star Wars makeup, its genetics, are based off everything that has been boiled down up to that point. And the same thing happens with people. You and I are the products of our parents' genetics code, and then our parents are the result of their genetic codes, and our kids, scientifically, biologically speaking, probably going to be superior to us in a number of ways, because everything that we can bring into the table is just one half of it. You still have the other parent who's going to be bringing everything else into the table, and then you have a kid. Now, I mean, this is part of the nature-nurture debate. Maybe it's just, it doesn't really matter as long as you're a good influence. Who knows? But the patterns are there. It's very noticeable. So when we get at the games, we get back to Smash Brothers. We see a game that is inspired by fighting games. It is a take on fighting games, but it is also drawing elements from every other game. Like it draws elements from Zelda. When you play characters who are really good at the Zelda characters, they're kind of playing the Zelda game a little bit. They're puzzles. They're trying to create patterns, make it very difficult for you to approach. You have to solve it. When you face the Mario players, they're playing it a lot like the Mario games. There was a lot of jumping, a lot of moving around, a lot of quickness, a lot of momentum, and a lot of finesse to it too. Like, and I just go on and on and on.
Which is why we're doing the episode.
Yeah, Samus doesn't really represent Metroid in my opinion, because she can't run and shoot, but that's okay. And because it's so difficult to draw from Smash Brothers without making it look like you're drawing from Smash Brothers. That's going to be the challenge, is that how do you take everything that Smash has brought to the table but and still develop your own identity? That's the challenge, and I'm really curious to see if anyone's going to pull it off. But honestly, because Smash has been around for 12 years and is fairly well ingrained in gaming culture, the best thing to do is to use Smash Brothers as the template and bring in other games to it. So circling back to the original point, I'm really hoping that the competitive scene will consider maybe not replacing the way it's played, but encouraging different modes and different styles of tournaments so that we can encourage players who have different styles, who are very good at their styles, to have an environment to play that to the best of their ability. Because that's the best thing you can do for the game.
And, if there's sudden death is called for, then do sudden death. Because your tactic was very valid of, here's Peach, just jump off the edge and umbrella yourself. And if you're the person on the stage, you still have lots of means to avoid stuff while you slowly float to your doom.
It was a gamble.
Yeah, it was a gamble. It was, there's a lot of aspects to that game that, again, this is why we're doing an episode about it, that just get lost because they try to boil it down to a competitive scene. And why would you want to play on Final Destination? God, is that a boring map? And, that's one of the complaints I have about the whole 3DS version is because of the simplicity of the stages, it does feel a lot like 50 Shades of Final Destination. But that's kind of what the competitive scene wanted, and they did bend a little bit, and I feel, and at least the Wii U version has enough to appease the other people. We're doing an episode about that. I'm going to stop there. But I think, similar to my Dungeon the Endless example, and possibly even the Team Fortress 2 example, if you have a game where you can pick up 10 different, like Unreal Tournament, where you can pick up 9 different guns at once, there's of course going to be 1 or 2 you favor. Someone's at long distance away. Do you go for the slightly faster but reveals where you are shock rifle, or do you take out the sniper rifle and hope you can get a pock shot off? Both, within their own ways, fulfill the role of fighting at long range, but they both do it a little bit differently. So the idea of someone who favors these weapons going Team Fortress 2, well, you're a sniper a lot? Well, here's a sniper. All he does is snipe. So that game is kind of an amalgamation of player meta, of player choices that they've made, and instead of saying, well, here's your 9 different guns, which ones do you want to use, it's here's your one gun because here's the role you like.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird because in Team Fortress 2, I really like the flat cannon, which is the shotgun. You get into in Unreal Tournament, I like the flat cannon, which is the shotgun. And then you go into Team Fortress.
Yeah, I believed you too, because I hadn't played it for so long. I'm like, a flat cannon in TF2 now? Sure, why not?
But then you get into TF2, it's like, you like the shotgun? Well, it's an alternate weapon on a couple of the classes, and it absolutely sucks. But hey, and Smash Brothers, is an amalgamation of multiple different genres together. Dungeon the Endless is an amalgamation of multiple different genres together. It kind of comes into the fact that these things are building a new genre. If you would take Dota 2, you could break it down to its parts and realize everything here has been done before. It's tower defense. It's real-time strategy to an extent.
Literal tower defense.
Wow. It's kind of a
There's fighting in Dota too.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a Diablo-ish thing where you have the characters and controlling them. There's a little roguelikeness going on because you're starting at level 1 and trying to get your equipment together and that kind of stuff. It is very much an amalgamation, but there's so many unique things to it that it acts like a new thing. They got rid of everything that didn't work, kept what did. Even Minecraft didn't really do anything new, even if the most basic thing was Lego, which hadn't really been done properly in video games before. But I think Gary's Mod was around before Minecraft, but that was a very much, tape wheels to a bathtub and hope for the best. Whereas Minecraft is blocks just, this is how they work. They go on each other.
Yeah.
So if at the very core, it kind of goes down to the whole argument that there's only 7 stories in the world. There's only so much we can do with video games. Once you had 2 objects on a screen that can go at different speeds, racing games, technically speaking, had evolved as much as they ever were going to, and everything else is just frivolous, technically speaking. So
Mario Kart introduced throwing shit at each other. That's not frivolous. It's pretty serious business.
Yeah, but from an actual break it down to its parts perspective, there's only so much we can do both for the fact that it's not real, it's a virtual game, and both by the fact that we can only interact with the world to a certain point. And yes, when we combine elements together in some new way to create some new schlop, we now have bubble tea, or something unique, and we try to call it something new because it's a combination of elements that we like and we'd like to see happen again. It's there's only it's beautiful, and there's only so much we can do, and we try to come up with names for it. I think also partly because as human beings, if we can name something, we feel like we can understand it. If we categorize it, we feel like we know it a little better, and they all get put in boxes, and they all come out just the same.
That was a great show. I gotta run to the washroom.
All right. Well, do we even have anything else?
I'm good.
Okay. So we are going to end this show by running to the washroom. Separately.